Yeah, I'll start sharing. Start my little watch party. Hey, everybody, we're coming on. I don't know if you can even see us yet, but we will start talking in just a few minutes. We're just sharing to our platforms. We're happy y'all came to see us tonight. So we're having a birthday celebration, hence the hat. That's the reason I'm wearing a birthday.
It's a birthday.
I'm not crazy, but I am wearing a birthday hat. Let's see. Are we on here yet? There we go. I see us. Hey, Isaiah. Yeah, I'll start sharing. Oops. I hate when that happens. We got a bad. Let's turn your volume. Yes. All right. Giving everybody a few minutes to get on. Here we go.
Now, is it on? I don't see it shared.
We are on. We are on. I'm going to tag you on this too.
Oh, okay. Because I'm on your page and I don't see it. So because I was going to share it as well. I'm not turning the light on. It's kind of the same. The light.
I'm going to tag you down here too.
Being indecisive about my lights.
There we go. I just got a notification.
Let's see that. No one ever came for me.
Let me come back here. All right. Well, I'll start talking. I'm so excited.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited. This has been, yes. Let me get this here in the comments. While you got reminders. I think that's it. Did I do that right? I did that right.
Yeah, I'm just ignoring my lights. I'm just changing stuff.
There we go. I don't know why it says author, Tim Dillinger. That's new, but that's fine. All right. So we are here tonight. I've got my
Well, I did the same thing you did. I found it. I just found it. So now I can share it. Now that I found it, I can share it. Okay, great. Okay, go.
All right. We are here tonight. This is my good friend, Kyla Jade, my family, Kyla Jade. We were remembering just before we got on how we met. We were singing. I was singing at an event. We won't name events or anything like that or what it was, but I got there and Kyla said, I'd never met her before, didn't know anything about Kyla other than she sang with Dr. Jones. And she said, and why did you miss your sound check?
Nobody knows it's true. They know it's true.
Nobody had told me there was a sound check. And so I was very apologetic. And she said, I said, they didn't tell me there was a sound check. And she said, of course nobody told you there was a sound check. And we've been besties ever since. And been a lot of years now, almost
it has been
8 years. And I wanted to say a few things about you before we jump into Bring It to Jesus by Dr. Bobby Jones and New Life.
Yay.
Kyla, you are so much more than being a voice is enough. But you are so much more than a voice. And I hope that everybody watching knows that in addition to being a great singer, you are an incredible songwriter, that you are a producer, and that you are involved in so many things behind the scenes that, you know, involve production, historical storytelling. I mean, you are really, you know, producing, directing, visioning. You are a major, major part of not just gospel music, but of the world of music, because your vision is so big. And so I'm just thrilled that God let our paths cross, and that we.
Well, I want to talk about you too. Because what people don't well, first of all, you were performing that night, and people often forget that you're an artist as well. And one of the things I loved about you was your spirit. You were completely, you were there to perform, but you were so kind and so humble and so talented. And I think that was the first thing that caught me. And then we have the same humor. So I'm pretty sure we talk trash for the rest of the night. But throughout our friendship and our journey, you have just been a constant. You've been consistent. You are so intellectual and so loving. And I'm honored to know you. I'm honored to have you as a friend. I'm honored to go on this journey. We have swapped papers. We've listened to each other's music. We've cried. We've talked. There's just been so many beautiful moments in our life. And so I'm so happy to be on your birthday edition of your show.
Well,
so many good things.
Something really interesting happened I'm turning 45 on Saturday, which is I was saying before we got on tonight that when I met my godmother many years ago, who, when I came into her life, I was 14. And she said, one of the first things I asked being a 14-year-old kid, I was curious because she loved to be everybody's mother. She wanted to be everybody's mother. And so I was like, how old are you? And she said, baby, I'm soon to be 50. And I said, what is that? How old are you? And so it came out that she was 45 when we met.
Okay.
And so it dawned on me this past week, like, you are now that age. People have shown me for years. I've always rounded up in age. So, I'm soon to be 50. If you've been through what we've been through, look, I'm glad we almost 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a good thing. But the other thing that really came up in preparing for my birthday, which is why you're here, is because we were working on something. And one of the earliest things that got me out of my city in Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida, was coming to Nashville to start coming to Dr. Bobby Jones' Gospel Explosions when I had just graduated from high school, my first explosion. That's the first explosion right there. And I came because I had seen a group on television, and I hate to use the word obsessed, but I was a little obsessed because they were and so different. So I got a plane ticket, got to Nashville to see this group, Dr. Bobby Jones and New Life. And did not know we had a great love for them in common. And so in approaching this birthday, it felt very full circle that this would be what we talk about. Because I grew up because of these singers. And so can you talk about how you first heard New Life?
Well, I went a different path. I definitely, growing up in gospel, we didn't really watch a lot of TV, so I didn't get them in my early age. But when I was about 18, 19, and I moved to Nashville, I started hearing about the Nashville Super Choir, and I started doing my research just on who they were, what they did, and I happened upon a New Life video. And I was like, what in the world is this? Like, who are these women? Why are they singing like this? Why is this so amazing? And so I was just blessed when I started singing with Dr. Jones when I was about 23. My very first gig, Nuwana was there. And so she was standing beside me, and I was petrified. I was petrified of being there. And I was just like, is she going to walk? Is she going to lay hands? Like, is she going to hit me over the head? Like, what's going to happen? Like, I freaked out I never told her this, but I freaked out the entire time. I just knew, like, if she went off, I was just going to like, well, that's it. I'm just close my eyes. That's all we're going to do. So that was my introduction to them. And I really didn't get involved until I was a part of the Super Choir and realized how much of a legacy being a part of the Super Choir was.
Wow. I did not know that about you being in the Super Choir with Nuwana. Wow.
I guess she was just there a couple. It's probably because we were in Detroit. We did Aretha Franklin's.
Oh,
and so she met us in Detroit.
wow. Wow. Well, I want to go back because anybody that was watching Bobby Jones Gospel in particularly 1989, 1990, you started seeing this incarnation of the group.
Yeah. There they are.
So, my screen's not wide enough, so we're getting Emily cut. There we go. Now we got everybody.
Yep.
So this was the group that everybody saw around that time, 88, 89. And I want to talk about just the harmony.
Yeah.
Because there is such a unique sound to what.
But before you can get to the harmony, you have to deal with how they looked. You have to start with the immediate, like, you know how people say, it's an eyesore, like you can't look away. Like as soon as the camera pans to them, you're taken with everybody's look. From Emily's, she was the thick one with her blonde hair and this blush and these lashes. And then you go next to her and you have Angie with her beautiful light skin self with that. I liked when she used to wear her hair really short, but it was big on top and slick to the side. Baby, that slick to the side was everything. And them shoulder pads. Everybody had on shoulder pads.
It's the 80s. It was the 80s.
Every single one. So you have to go Emily, Angie, and then you typically had Beverly, Nuwana, and then you ended with Francine. Like that was how they were going to stand. Each one of them, for especially being a plus size girl, being a plus size Black woman, to see these beautiful women in gowns and in all white, and sometimes they would all have their own variations, but all be in the same color. Like you can't even get to their voices until you talk about how beautiful these women were in all shades. Yeah. Some with makeup, some with not. Like even those who didn't glam up, there was something very innocent and beautiful about Beverly and Nuwana. Like you could not look away. And they always talk about, the anointing of God. It's a beautiful, they were beautifully adorned with his anointing. Like there's so many things that you can hear, but it was true. It was true for these girls. Like you saw them and you could pick out, it's like the Power Rangers of Black women. Like you're going to pick out who you want and who you are. I'm the pink one. No, I'm the green one. Like you wanted to be one of those women.
Yes.
Speaking of, so who did you always go to?
Well, prior to Beverly getting there, I zoomed in and I'm two people and I'm not really sure. I mean, yeah. Angie and Nuwana. And then Beverly really was this cherry on top of the group. And so when Beverly came, I was just like, what is this? And I was in, the Holiness Church. And so I knew that from being in church. I didn't know, I had never seen that on television before.
Mm-hmm. Baby, the way Angie would shake her head. Like everybody had their thing. If Angie's head was shaking, you knew everybody else was going to get hit with it. Like everybody, and for me, it was always Emily. It was always Emily because it was something about her that I was just like, she's bold. Like she's just bold. And that's what her personality on stage seemed. And then to meet her and know she was very, very humble. Now she was going to get you together, but she just had the softest, sweetest. It wasn't nice, nasty. It was just, she loved hard. And if she loved you, she loved you. She didn't like you, she didn't like you.
Yes.
But on stage, that persona of, we understand what we're doing. There's an authority to what we're doing and why we're called. I think that spoke to me as a gospel artist coming up. It spoke to me as a young girl to see these women stand in literal authority. Who walks with their eyes closed? There's a video of Nuwana singing with her eyes closed and walking and touching people. Ma'am, you're not scared you're going to trip? Like, what if there's a purse on the floor or a body? Like, she would just, who does Yeah.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you want to talk about the Harmony?
Well,
Because I can just go.
as a singer, I was watching because I liked the sound. I mean, just
Yeah.
as a teenager, I went, oh, that's if I want to learn about harmony and chemistry and paying attention to and being a good group singer, I need to watch them. And so that's why I really zoomed on Angie, because I watched Angie's eyes.
Okay.
And watching Angie watch everybody else. And I was watching Angie's hands. And I was watching her essentially, and Francine on the other end, signaling really to each other a lot. And Emily just always knew what she was doing. And so
right.
And so I was, as a singer, that's what I was studying them for, because they were so in sync with one another. It was never, ever, you never saw it counting down. You never saw that happen, ever, on that stage. It was a look, and they knew exactly where they were going and what they were going to do. And they are, in going back and watching these videos, they're a masterclass in that.
Yes.
And that's not even getting into ministry. And styling and interpretation and all the other things we've got. But just in that, I went, nobody can touch them.
Which makes you wonder, we talked briefly with Derek Lee the other day, which makes you wonder how I'm a rehearsal baby. I love rehearsals. I love scheduling them. I love being there. I love watching. And to be that tight, what was their discipline like?
Yes.
How long did they rehearse? How were rehearsals? Who fussed and who always knew the music? Who always forgot the words? Like, you wish you could be a fly on the wall just for those rehearsals, because that people nowadays can't handle that kind of talk. I know that someone came in there and said, don't wear that skirt anymore because it was ugly and you couldn't sew it. Like, I know that there were moments when they were wore out where whoever, Gary or Derek, whoever, or Dr. Jones or Emily or whoever was, since we know that Emily was a maternal one, that who was getting them together to be on stage and be that tight all the time. Yeah. No one could handle that kind of talk right now.
Well, and we also have to give people, and I know anybody that was watching, again, I'm really talking for people that don't know what we're talking about tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So they were the main place we were seeing them filmed was in the television studio, largely prior to the explosions. And then Dr. Jones started coordinating what they called, they were biannual gospel explosions. And so they would go typically to Nashville or Atlanta. I know later there were some in California and Cincinnati and other cities, but largely Nashville and Atlanta were the hubs. And all the gospel artists were coming and performing. And so you've got New Life, Dr. Jones and New Life essentially as the host group.
Yeah.
And so they get, multiple sets throughout the explosions, and then all of the other artists. So there's an energy when you watch these shows with the audience. And, Nashville's a different kind of city.
Yes.
So Nashville has a different kind of energy, but they would overtake Nashville energy, which is pretty hard to do, because Nashville is not a Pentecostal hub.
No. No way, shape, or form.
No way, shape, or form. I remember coming here and going to a Pentecostal church, and I went, oh, okay. That's different. All right. It feels more Baptist to me, but okay. But then Atlanta, those Atlanta explosions were lit. Lit. I mean, and so to watch New Life engage, to bring their whole selves to those audiences, to me, those are some of my favorite live moments of watching the group, because it, my godmother used to say, you catch on fire, somebody will come and watch you burn. And that was what, to me, the New Life experience was. Only everybody caught on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody got in the fire. And so that's just a little bit of the energy that they were putting out, which was unusual for gospel as well. Like just as gospel artists, because even though we aren't what we are now in gospel, you're very professional now. We are very professional.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And all of this. But back then, it was a live band thing, and you really did, artists really counted on some kind of engagement.
Yeah.
The audience to sell those records and to make those songs hit.
Yeah.
And so the Explosions were such an important conduit for all of the artists that we loved in the 80s and the 90s. Hezekiah and all the choirs. I mean, all those choirs were there. So it was an era. It was an era. And then in 1993, they captured it on tape.
Yes, they did. So we have to also think about, this is years and years of, like you said before, studio, TV, traveling around the world. Like they had really honed in on what their sound was and what the niche, I think what the niche was missing. And I was thinking about just different groups that I'd see. We always talk about the Caravans. And then, of course, before the Caravans was Claire Ward and the Claire Ward Singers. Like there was something just Claire Ward, they would just sing in front of a sea of non-traditional people and bring traditionalism and traditional church to an audience that didn't even understand it, probably didn't speak English, like just didn't understand what that was. And so coming from Claire Ward and the Claire Ward Singers and the Caravans, and then now having New Life bring another part of glamour and another part of TV and another, like they all kind of work together for me. And so I felt like when they got ready for Bring It to Jesus, they had really decided what those, what the New Life girls were going to be. Like, this is what we bring to the table. This is our sound. This is the time. Like, let's just, I think Derek Lee said it best, let's just record it.
Yes.
We've been doing it this whole time. Let's just put it on wax.
And it's a tour de force. It is, I think, 9 songs. 9 songs. Some of them are 10 minutes long. Yes,
they are.
Everything that would never happen today on a record happens on this record. And it's so good. I put a link in the comments so that when this is over, if you've never heard this album, I want you to go stream it. And I promise you that the one thing that will happen is you're going to go back to it again and again and again. And we're going to unpack the record. But I also just want to say that, in 30 years almost since this record, that this has been, for me, one of a few. But and when I say a few, just a few, that I go back to when I am almost hopeless.
Wow.
Those moments. This is one of the records that has always lifted me and brought me back to center. And if it's not the album, it's a New Life video. Because there is something so life-changing in the delivery, in the songs themselves. These are timeless songs. And we're going to get there. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I really do want people go bookmark this.
But you're everything you're saying is true to me. Like, especially being someone who got to sing these songs, it is amazing to me the longevity of the song. To 20 years later, to be singing some of the same songs and feeling the same thing. It's a testament to the writers and a testament to just, you can hear them. Like, let's just talk about the songs, because each one means something different.
Each one is, and I don't want to take it sequentially. I actually do want to really start with the title track, because this was Bring It to Jesus was a song that, if you watch the show for any period, then you know they had been singing this song for at least a year before they recorded it. And so you get, if you know, I'm hoping one day like BET will release some of this footage again and put it up, because you get to really see the new life.
Yeah.
Develop a relationship with the songs over time. And so, you know, there's like an early clip of Beverly Crawford leading this song in the television studio. And then you get to see it performed live multiple times, and you get to see it get bigger,
evolve. Yeah,
evolves, and her connection to the song gets stronger and stronger. And then you see the audience, because they've heard it on TV, even though they don't have a record, they're familiar with it now.
Well, you know, we have to go back. You know, you can't say "Bring It to Jesus" without saying Bob Bailey.
That's exactly right.
You can't, because Bob Bailey's already ruined me. As soon as he starts rock and roll, a heavy load, like, just bring me a Usher. Like, I need it. That song, that's one of the ones I go to. That's one of the ones when I am at my lowest, I sing "Bring It to Jesus," or I hum it, or it is just, yeah, it's just one of those songs.
Well, and for history's sake, let's talk. Derek Lee, Bob Bailey, and Raymond Brown wrote this song, and it was initially a contemporary Christian music hit for another amazing voice, Cynthia Clawson. You can also stream her version on all the platforms. It's on an album called Immortal, and she had a #1 CCM radio hit with this in 1986. And then Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind and Fire would record it again in 89, if I'm not mistaken. So right. How this song can also fit incredible stylists' sound, because it's that
different genres. Yeah.
And then I never would have expected what Beverly Crawford and
not at all. Not at all. It just gives it a whole different life. It's a whole different life. But you know what? Not to be super churchy, but when you sing it from that place that she sang it from, you cannot help but change lives. Like, it's like she sang that song from the depths of her despair.
Yes. And
you believe by the end of the song that there is vindication, that you are going to change, that it is such a storyteller song. And that's the thing about Bob Bailey. Bob Bailey tells stories.
Yes.
And Derek Lee does too. They're both storytellers.
Yes.
And you have to be able to take the listener through this journey. And Beverly did it with all of her life on her sleeve. Listen, I'm the wrong one. I don't know why we're talking about this whole record. You know, I get overwhelmed because it's one of those records that just sticks to you like gumbo. It just it wraps around you.
Yes,
it wraps around you.
So you need to go and listen to all 9 minutes of it. I mean, it is a transformative.
All 9 minutes.
All 9 minutes of it. 9 minutes and 56 seconds of it, actually, and that's an edit. By the way, that's an edit. It's completely soul shaking, and I wish that these videos were up, because there were multiple times that they would do this at the explosions, and it would become the concert ultimately, because people were so moved by this song that it would take over the concert, and the concert would become.
It's either that one or Give Him Your Life. They're kind of interchangeable, because as soon as you get to that, give him your life, ooh, I will. Like, I just need an Usher to talk about this whole record.
Well, we also
Give Him Your Life is another favorite of mine.
Which one?
Give Him Your Life.
Absolutely. And I think that the other thing that's important about Give Him Your Life from a group standpoint is everybody gets to step out on it.
Yes.
And yes. So everybody speaking from their
Everybody has a moment.
Yes.
Everybody has a moment. And that's huge. That's huge first of all, let's talk about the fact that everybody could step out. Everybody in this group could step out, could hold their own, and offered something different. And that is not relevant in a lot of groups today. Everybody can step out and leave. You can't trust everybody to hold a song. And each of those girls offered something beautiful to that song.
Yes. Well, and let's also talk about, this is the hard one. Let's talk about, because the ballads really were central to New Life's ministry and to this record in particular.
Yes.
In His Care.
And so, let me, I feel like I need a lap cloth. Where is Angie? Angie, I need a lap cloth, and I need some lace sewed on it so I can be grand. Because in His Care, I can't handle In His Care. I can't handle it. So you're gonna have to talk, because I can't handle that one.
Well, In His Care, also, this is interesting too, because there's another New Life song that they recorded, not as New Life, but it's on the first Super Choir record, called He Will Carry You. So In His Care was written by the same writer who wrote He Will Carry You. Niles Burrup and Sean Craig wrote In His Care, led by Emily Harris and Nuwana Dunlap. And that song, so I know we're not testimonying tonight, I don't think, but
go ahead, Tim.
Well, I had a real life connection moment to this song in 2012.
Okay.
Emily transitioned, and her funeral, this was in December of 2012, and I was living in upstate New York, and was getting sick and didn't know I was getting sick. I just felt a little out of my body, and I had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and had started a medication called Neurontin. So I had gotten up, gone to work one day, and just felt like I was outside of myself. Wow. It sounds crazy to say that, but I felt outside of me. And got to my boss's house. We were having a meeting there, and we were working, and I tasted blood in my mouth. And I said, something's going on. And I looked, and I had red dots all up my arms. And I started getting purple splotches. So I drove myself to the doctor, and they said, we think you're having a reaction to the medication, but this isn't really typical of this medication. They said, go home and rest. Don't go to work tomorrow. We'll call you with results of the blood work. And that morning I got up, and something just said to me, make a huge breakfast, eat. And I cooked potatoes and sausage gravy and but I felt like something was happening. I just felt I was getting further and further outside of my body. And I sat down on my chair in the living room, and Gerald, who I did not know at the time, our friend Gerald, had posted Emily's funeral on YouTube. And there was New Life back together again. And they are singing In His Care. And I just remember sitting in that chair and knowing something was really going wrong in my body. And I heard them in my ears. I will not dread. I will not fear. I'm not alone. My God is here. My soul is resting in His care. And I fell asleep, and I woke up, and the doctor said, you need to come to the emergency room. You are dying. You are, my platelets had crashed. And that song was how I got myself to the hospital, and carried me through a 5-month process. I was in bed for 5 months. And after that, just trying to recover. It almost took me out. But what I kept going back to, I will not dread. I will not fear. I sat in that hospital. My boss said, they were transfusing me at that point. And he said, "Are you afraid? You don't seem afraid." And all I knew was my soul was resting in his care. I was fine. I was fine. And with whatever happened was going to happen, but I was fine. And when, we talk about new life and these songs, they are in my DNA. Just a part of my life. Yeah.
That's how, first of all, that's what music should do. Music should wrap around you, and gospel music especially should change your life.
Yes.
Should change your life for the better. That is a beautiful, beautiful, and I knew parts of that story, but I didn't know that song was the glue. I did not know that.
Yeah, and it was, again, like New Life has been for me such a strange 30-year connector. It has been this piece. I mean, I feel like part of our bond was this group, and then coming back to Nashville later that year. Still, I was walking on a cane when I came back. Actually, I had just gotten off the cane when you met me.
Yep.
And meeting Gerald, our friend Gerald Brinkley, and had no idea he was the person that had posted that video.
Yep.
And so I got to tell him that story because I just couldn't believe the connections, the spiral that these songs have for so many of us. I'm not unique that way. So when I say that, that's not to say I have a special connection. I have a connection. Many other people have it with this group and these songs as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk about.
Go ahead.
You go.
I was just going to say the other thing that was beautiful to me about In His Care was Nuwana and Emily's relationship. Was her, introducing the song and bringing Emily out and knowing later on how their bond was and how Emily would protect her a little bit and sometimes speak for her and really be, the glue that kept everybody kind of sane. And it's just a beautiful moment to see the love. And you saw it expressed a lot of times openly. And that was another thing that was different about the New Life girls is that you would see them smiling at each other and interacting with each other and pushing each other. And there was never a moment that somebody wasn't singing and Nuwana wasn't by them, backing them and supporting them and singing with them. And I loved that. And I think you saw it especially in that moment in the beginning of In His Care.
Well, in the moment also that happens as the song they're coming out of In His Care and going in to bring it to Jesus, and you get to see Beverly and Nuwana then have this also tag team kind of moment. And so to see that it wasn't one steps forward, another steps back.
Yeah.
They knew how to work together both in the background and up front.
Absolutely.
And I think that is, again, one of the many things that makes this group very unique in what they brought to gospel music.
I agree.
Let's talk. So I do want to talk about Be Ready.
You said be ready?
Be ready.
You better be ready. So yeah. It's how the record starts. It's how the video starts. And that doggone Francine. Like, it just kind of all goes in one. Francine murks that song.
Yes.
It still sounds exactly like she did back then. It's crazy.
We have to. So let's talk about what happened a few weeks ago while we're talking about Be Ready, because 2 weeks ago, Francine, Angie, and Nuwana came together for the first time, really for the first time. And we know they sang together at Emily's funeral, but really for the first time in 26 years, since 1996 or so. And Francine did Be Ready at this live stream service that we got to be at.
After
And
like an hour rehearsal.
an hour. That's all they had. Francine sounds exactly the same.
She is a mighty alto. Mighty.
I couldn't take it. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I had time traveled.
Yes, that's a good way to. Yeah, that's a good thing to say because it just for me it didn't make any sense. It really didn't for her to sound like that.
I think I told Angie this. I closed my eyes at one point and was when we were in the rehearsal, and I was sitting there and I lost it. I really lost it because I felt like I was 22 again. I felt like I was 20 again because the sound was unchanged. I mean,
Yes.
they added Jocelyn Hill and Gail Mays, and
Yes,
it was the sound
it was.
all
It
over
was.
again. And so they did Be Ready, and Francine ran that thing, ad libs. And that's the other thing, though. Be Ready, Give Your Life to Him in particular. Like, these songs are about what's happening right now.
Yes.
What's happening right now in the world. And so, I feel like there's a reason they came back together a few weeks ago because
I agree.
I feel like, the time's so right for these messages to be re-emerging as we face crisis.
It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's very timely.
So we've talked about Francine as really, and Emily and Angie were this, nucleus at the bottom of the sound carrying the harmonics. And then you have Nuwana and Beverly who step out a little more frequently than everybody else. But Nuwana gets this incredible moment, not only on In His Care, but she gets a testimony song.
Yes.
God Will Deliver on Time. Written by Dr. Jones, we should add, and Derek.
Yes.
And as was Give Him Your Life was written by Dr. Jones as well. But let's talk about God Will Deliver.
The thing is, people, it's almost like you have this 4'11", if that, lady with stockings on, kitten heels, a doily, or whatever's on her hair at the moment, because she's apostolic. And she gets the mic. And I don't know, I wonder if the people knew what was about to happen to them. Like, I wonder if they knew, or because it's like the song starts. The song it's churchy, it starts. But by the time she gets to that drive, I know like the whole building, like, what do you do? What do you do with this little bitty package that just wears you out for 15 minutes and probably would continue to go if somebody didn't end the song?
Well,
like,
let me tell you, because I was there for
please.
No, so I was the last explosion the group did in Nashville. They performed set in the Vision Awards. And so the thing you should know if you watched the show, you also know nobody cared that it was an award show ever. At any point in the history of the Vision Awards, did anybody give that any credence in terms of how they edit or curtail themselves for the sake of television? That was a non-factor because they're going to edit this together later, but we're going to sing the whole song and let the Spirit have His way.
Yes, we are.
When they did God Will Deliver on Time, I will never forget, they couldn't get Beverly and Angie off stage.
I'm sorry.
Beverly and Angie were at the curtain shout. Yeah. Beverly was holding on to the piano.
That brings me so much
Somebody was
joy.
helping Angie. And when they got off stage, the place was completely, I mean, we were churched. We were churched all the way out. And it was so
it's pandemonium.
It was so palpable. I remember Janelle Alexander was there with Daryl Coley, and I just remember her running around the building, and people were getting pulled out of their seats by, essentially other attendees that became ushers, and getting people in the aisles. And then in comes through, and I'm not sure what the backstage area at War Memorial, what happens at War Memorial Auditorium when you get off stage, how you get back in. But New Life came through the center aisle after they were off stage. And so it took a minute for them to walk all the way around. They come through the center and they still shouting down the aisle, back to their seats.
Well, let's be clear about who was shouting.
Beverly.
Because I know who wasn't. I know who was not shouting. And well, who was being an usher. I do know that.
Emily was helping.
There you go. She was a good usher.
Emily was helping. And they came back down the aisle to the front to their seats, still shouting. And they brought, and I'm just going to say, this is the kind of power, though, that was there. It was so very real. I've never felt, maybe one other time outside of New Life, and that was in my home church. Did I feel that kind of energy consistently? But when Daryl Coley, Albertina Walker, and Dorothy Norwood came out to resume the Vision Awards.
Wow.
Daryl had to help usher for Dorothy and Albertina because they couldn't even, initially we saw the curtain tear back. I'll never forget it. And they were trying to corral Dorothy backstage. Dorothy was caught up. And so they came out, they're reading the cue card. They're really trying to move on.
I love it.
Dorothy had her country fit. And there was no coming back from it. And it was an hour, There was an hour.
I am so tired of you with this country fit. That almost wore me out. That's
what we had. We had country fits.
Yeah. That's the good stuff, though. Like,
and Dr. Jones got it all on tape.
Yeah.
We didn't see it all because how do you air that on television? But those experiences were just, I say all the time, the explosions were some of my greatest memories ever. That doesn't happen anymore.
No, nothing remotely near that. Not at all.
Isaiah Foreman says he remembers that. It was a incredible night. It was an incredible night, but that was not unique. And that was my whole point of that long story, is that was not unique for New Life.
No.
That was not.
It was not.
And Nuwana, in God Will Deliver, Nuwana shares an incredible testimony of her own healing of her arm. And, it is, these women were, and the other thing I can say, I've gotten to, meet everybody through the years. And as I know you have, these women were bona fide real.
Yes. They lived it.
And live it to this day. I mean, these were
But that's why they can sing like that.
That's right.
There's a difference in somebody who knows God and actually has a relationship and lives it. And they sang like they talk to him on a regular basis. That's what people needed. People needed real. They needed to feel God in a way that they hadn't felt God before. That's what happened. And that explosion, thank God for Dr. Jones and his vision to know that you can get all these people together in one building and just celebrate God and just sing gospel music. You know what I'm saying? The New Life, at this point was still, even the beginning of them, they were still getting notoriety. They were still getting known. And they were the highlights of a lot of those. Think about the record Bringing to Jesus. Let's talk about the fact that we had a young Yolanda Adams and that we had Farrakhan.
That's right.
How? What are you doing? Mixed in with these girls talking about Jesus.
That's right.
And he will deliver, talking to the camera and talking to the people and laying hands. And another thing that I loved about the fact, to the point that you said that it was ministry, is that if someone was struggling, they would stop and pray. Emily, Beverly, Angie, all of would stop what they were doing and take time. Name a gospel artist who you've seen do that lately.
Yes. On the back end of that. I mean, that was the thing that always blew me away. And I got to tell, I think Angie and I talked about this last weekend too at the event, was that they were the most accessible artists to this day I have ever seen. They love the people.
Yep.
They cared about the people. And I mean, and I also want to also say, like, they were talking about things that would become issues, and they were issues then, but nobody talked about them. I mean, there's Juana would talk about bullying, on the show, and calling out like things that were happening in the world and dealing with illness. And Dr. Jones was always so on point about dealing with the political climate.
Yes.
What was happening in the world. And he found a way to weave that in, even with A New Life, to make this a unified vision. The old.
And transformative and innovative. I mean, you can also talk about You Can Do It.
That's right. That's right.
Like, no one expected a song like You Can Do It.
He was
in the middle of God Will Deliver and Give Him Your Life. You have a You Can Do It.
Yes. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. They can do it. Turn it around upside down. And what, Francine, you can find the answer. It comes from within.
That's it.
Yeah. And then let's also talk about the voice, Angie Prim, as well. Anybody here?
Yes.
I'm mad if she wasn't on the video doing it, because the version that's on the record is singers. So let's say this is a masterclass too. Angie Prim, I was always in awe watching the group, because Angie would do these little things in the background that were
little
not
colors.
Her little that just added that extra touch to what Life did. And she was like the bell of the group, in the sense of a little extra little ring you get in the background, but it changes the whole song.
Absolutely.
And so you get anybody here, and Angie is just, it's a tour de force. I mean, it's really an incredible performance. And Angie performs all over
she did.
as well. And you can stream her albums on Spotify and download them in all the stores. Angie's incredible. I mean, definitely
she really is.
Underrated in so many ways, and was for many years. I'm thrilled she's making solo records now, because she really was so key to that sound.
Absolutely. She was.
And then Dr. Jones did something on this, and we're down to our last 10 minutes. It's hard because so much more we could say. But he takes us, the last two songs on the record, he takes us to what to me has always been the centerpiece of what he loves, and that's traditional gospel.
Yes.
And so you get The Only Hope, Roberta Martin singers, and again, you get everybody. You get everybody on that song. And then it segues into the New Life. the signature song, which in many, I hope people know, New Life first, Bobby Jones and New Life first recorded He'll Step Right In 1979. The first version that you get the song was on There's Hope for the World. And then, though, it morphed through the years. And so there's
absolutely
the evolution of this song is fascinating to me because
you know what never changed though is that you have to step the dance moves. Okay, we'll continue. Everybody has to step.
Choreography
has never changed over the years. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, but in the 80s, the great, and I want to acknowledge him tonight too, because he was a New Life member. He was a founder of the 21st Century Singers. Johnny Whitaker led this song in the 80s.
Yes.
And if you don't know who Johnny Whitaker is, he was one of the greatest vocalists of all time. Let's just
absolutely
put that out there. A soprano at that.
He sang everything.
Sang everything. But go back and get those 21st Century records, and then the footage you can see him doing He'll Step Right In on Time on YouTube.
Yeah, it is still up there.
It's still up there. And then Derek told us, and this was the other thing I did not know, that one of the other New Life singers just prior to Beverly, Stefania Stone Frierson, led this song. And I've never heard her do it. So
nor have I, and I'm really sad that I haven't heard her do it.
And she is an incredible voice as well. I mean, she's a Nashville staple. And so I want to hear her version. But then Beverly came, and Beverly did not copy anybody's version.
No, she made her own.
Talk about He'll Step Right In.
It was just, again, the thing that I liked about Beverly is that even back then, it was just raw. It was, just like you said, it wasn't Johnny's version. It wasn't anyone else's version. It was her own testimony, her own way of expressing how she felt at the moment. And that drive at the end of it, when you in there and she gets to preaching with it, it's over. It is. I love the fact that she had the freedom to sing. No one tried to make her be anyone else. They just tightened up that sound and allowed her to genuinely, I think that's what Dr. Jones said all the time. I had my singers and I had my preachers, but she could do both. And it was a perfect song that married that, how she grew up in the church every day. And if she had to preach a sermon the next day too, it married them both.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you get more story, because we got story from Nuana on God Will Deliver, and then you get Beverly's story about what's underneath that force, like why they minister the way they minister, why they share what they share. And it really is about these, the ways that life gets transformed and from belief.
Yep.
Just from the power of belief in healing, in emotional healing, in recovery.
Yeah.
That it is a matter of belief in many ways and doing the work to see it through. And so you get this tour de force. Again, let's see. How long is this one? Let's see. Hold on.
Please.
9 minutes and 43 seconds. There's no radio edit anywhere to be found for that.
Because you can't, you will lose it. Like, you can't cut it. I don't even think you can get a radio edit from these songs, because you need all of it. You need it.
You need all of it. And I mean, there's a VHS that accompanies this that I wish were available today, because it is incredible to see. And so at the end, you also get the wonderful thing that was also New Life, because you can tell Dr. Jones, his real gift to the group also was being such an incredible host and understanding how a show, concert, if you will, whatever. I know some people don't like the word show, needs to flow.
But
move.
But not only that, He handpicked these girls.
Yes.
He handpicked them, and I called him a gospel poacher because it's kind of what he was. He literally found them singing in churches, singing with other groups, singing with different people, singing by themselves, and was like, hey, want to be in a group? But he had the foresight and the knowledge, and I think just the God-given talent to find all of the in there. Then to the point, there are different versions of New Life. There was a couple of versions of it. We're just discussing the version that sang and Bring It to Jesus that had such an influence on us specifically. But he knew and then let them go. You didn't see him doing a lot of interrupting. You didn't see him a lot. He let them be exactly who they were. And, I'm grateful. I am grateful to be a product of and a legacy of these amazing women. I really am.
That's right.
Really is an honor.
Well, and your mother said perhaps it was the anointing power of God to deliver a message through music. Amen.
Come on, mama.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to just take our time tonight and just point some attention back to these amazing women and Dr. Jones, who I think often really also doesn't get the credit for particularly this iteration of the group and just the gift that they were to so many of us that were growing up during that era. And I mean, the other really powerful thing is how many people, little babies younger than you and me, that have found these videos on YouTube and have also experienced the presence of God through music. They keep giving this gift to us just through, this 5-6 year window that they had together. And I hope that there are more moments of seeing them together again.
Me too.
Because I know that what we experienced a few weeks ago, more people need to see and hear and feel and remember that this is what we come from.
Yeah.
This is.
We need to get back to it. We asked Dr. Jones the other day, what do you feel is missing today in gospel music? Or I can't really remember the question that we asked, but his answer is really how we all feel. The CCM is great, and everything is good, but getting back to the foundation of what gospel music is, where it changes your life and it shakes you and it convicts you and it loves you and wraps around you. And, what are those songs? What is being said? What's being written that really changes lives? And I think they encompassed all of those things in the hour and 45 minutes you got to sit and listen to them.
That's right. Well, as Dorothy Norwood loves to talk about when she goes down Old School Boulevard, that the new songs are wonderful, but when you're in trouble, what do you go back to? What's going to pull you through? What's going to bring you out? What's going to lift you up?
Yeah.
And I know for me, it's those songs and these songs right here. And I'm just grateful, that
today I like this.
You like this?
I do. I'm enjoying it.
Someone asked if we would sing, and I don't really know what we would sing.
We've been singing this whole time. They must have just got on.
What's that?
I said we've been singing off and on this entire stream. Don't come late to the party making requests.
I think it was early. It was earlier. Yeah. We will come back and we will sing again. We'll have a minute to get something together next time.
There you go.
We will get it together. But I want to thank everybody again for joining us tonight. This was so much fun.
It was a birthday celebrate.
That's right.
I didn't know I didn't get a hat.
I'm gonna scrolling through the comments really quickly so we can get in people that. Gerald, happy birthday. Thank you, Gerald. We love you. Isaiah Foreman, he is a New Life, one of the top tier New Life lovers. Boy, you talk about Beverly shouting she could cut a floor, and Nuwana was so powerful in her anointing. Yes, she was. Francine's here. Francine said happy birthday. Hi, Francine. I love you. We love
Francine.
You. And we've got new messages down here at the bottom. Isaiah said, I'm going to buy this album. Listening doesn't hold it all. They are such powerhouses. God will deliver in his care. He'll step in on time. Tutu, Nuwana's daughter, is here. It was wonderful, very anointed. Your mom is here. I'm just to everybody who showed up tonight. We'll be back. I'll be back in 2 weeks. October 8th, I'll be here with Jamie Anderson. We'll be talking about From Women's Faces by Theresa Dell, and we've got
Tim has some big things coming up, guys, so please subscribe, please follow him on all your social medias. I am not only a friend, but I'm a fan of everything he's doing, and we need to talk about these records. So please subscribe, because he's got some things coming up and I'm excited about them.
Kyla, we'll just say this, everybody follow Kyla. Kyla sings.
And we have big things together coming up.
We do. We're not at liberty yet. It's hard. I hate announcing announcements. But there is something big coming down the pike. Several big things for you and I.
Several things, yeah.
So just stay tuned as we get things a little more solidified. We will be sharing some big news. Some of it might even have something to do with New Life. I don't know. It might. So just stay tuned. Stay tuned. I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. Happy birthday, my babe. Thank you for inviting me. It's hot. We can do this all day. I just love you.
Again.
Yes.
All right. I love you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.